Thank you. I mean, I think the conversation about growth is a vital one. It's something that as South Africans we can gather around and be able to have a frank conversation about. There's some key dynamics that have to influence growth. And one of the key issues is the fact that, of course, you've got to provide leadership and policy certainty. If I was an investor, both domestically and foreign, and I was investigating whether I should if I should invest in South Africa, there'd be a number of questions I'd have to put into place, is whether or not I can trust that leadership to say that if X is X today, will it be X tomorrow? Can I assume that there will be policy certainty? So I know that if I invest in terms of infrastructure, that infrastructure will be in place tomorrow. At the moment, our infrastructure backlog is appalling. So if you think about whether I would invest in South Africa, I'd have to answer the question, will the lights stay on? Will I have water? Will the roads that I travel my goods on mean that those goods are safe? And these are critical issues that investors have to take into account. And to take you back to a time, and I'm sure Minister Mashatile would agree with me, is that when we had gear as an economic policy, we had growth. Because there we had a policy space that took us in a particular direction. Post that, we've had a number of conflicting and if not well-supported policy spaces. We've got the National Development Plan. That's a policy position that in fact others even within the alliance have been critical on. Along with that, then we've got EPUP and then we've got a few other policies that are sometimes in conflict with one another that create a gridlock. It's confusing to investors both domestically and outside. The other issue is that we've got to talk about the structure of this economy. Our economy favors a few at the expense of the many. We've got to break down the insider-outsider environment. People participate in the outside of the economy. We've got to make sure those become more included. We've got to build a level of equity. And to do that, it means that when you go into the informal sector of our economy, we've got to give people title deeds. Hernando de Soto argues quite critically that in an informal sector, you've got to give equity to people. If you put title deeds in people's hands, they can be able to trade off against that. They can create equity behind that. I think, not at the exclusion of what government does, there's no fail that the future of South Africa's economy lies in small businesses. And SMMEs create 48% of our labor force. They hire between 1 to 5 people. It's a model that is working. We've got to replicate that. And this by making sure it's easier to do business. It costs companies 80,000 rands just in compliance annually. We've got to limit that, make it easier. We've got to make sure small businesses benefit from big tenders, break those down to make sure a small business can participate. And without fail, it will increase that entrepreneurial skill that is required. The other issue is about...
Thank you, Mmusi, but I have to